But I guess if you're a drug cartel big pen, big shot, and you can buy your way out of it, I guess that works too.
I presume you're familiar with John Lott and Sheriff Richard Mack and the whole more guns, less crime scenario. And
Yes, I am.
what you find is that criminals don't obey gun ban laws, and as a direct result, all the law-abiding citizens who would never hurt anybody or pull their gun on anyone in violence unless they were threatened, well, basically, you wind up by banning guns, giving almost the exclusive use of guns to criminals, both those in uniform and those who run cartels.
Well, that's a really good point there because the criminals in uniform issue is getting more and more attention in this country. And the U.S. citizens are waking up to the abusive process that our law enforcement in this country is going with. I mentioned earlier that, back in the Andy Griffin days when law enforcement, sheriffs were, police officers they were peace officers. They're no longer peace officers. Most times they're brutal thugs. And with the advent of cell phone cameras and the like, we're recording more and more and more just unprovoked police violence against innocent people. And it's got to stop. It really does. And, otherwise, things are going to get much uglier here in the U.S. And I am not without hope. I still have faith in the American people, but I don't have faith in our government anymore. So we need a complete regime change in the USA. And I mean, not just our government. The government needs to go. We need a new government, need all new elected officials, and we need a new bureaucracy to implement the laws that are on the books. Because we've got plenty of laws. We have too many laws. In fact, I would propose a sunshine law that every 10 years a law has to come up for review, and either if it doesn't pass review a second time, it gets put in the wastebasket. It's no longer valid. But we need to do something. We have so many laws on the books that nobody can follow all the laws. They can arrest anybody for anything, anytime. They just have to look for the right statute to violate.
And it's innocent until presumed. What was it? You're supposed to be presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Proven guilty.
But
Yes.
now you are assumed to be guilty until you prove you're innocent. So in essence, everybody's guilty in order to keep everybody safe. But if everybody's
Well,
guilty, nobody's safe.
Well, that's another issue here because you look at the illegal immigration problem we have. 99% of the illegal immigrants are from Mexico or other, Latin American countries. They operate under Napoleonic code where they're guilty until proven innocent. So they come up here to the U.S. They're out drunk driving. They have a car accident. What do? They leave the scene. They don't stick around. They leave. If the United States still needs that type of labor, that low skilled labor, if we need to have a guest worker problem or a program, let's follow the Singapore model. It's an excellent model, and that is where the employer can recruit as many foreign workers as he wants, but he has to feed them, he has to house them, he has to pay them, and if they go out and get in trouble, let's say drunk driving and have an accident, he's responsible for them. He doesn't stick the taxpayer with them. If they get injured, he's responsible for their medical bills, not going into an emergency room like they do here and stick the U.S. taxpayers for it. If they have children, he's responsible for educating their children. These are all common sense things where if you need that labor, fine, you can have it, but you have to take responsibility for that labor. You're not allowed to shift the burden of that responsibility onto the American taxpayers.
Or onto entirely the immigrants themselves, because moving to another area of the world where you don't have a social network or family members around to support you, that's becoming an essential part of life, and it's deeply integral to many cultures to have a huge family and have everybody supporting each other and helping each other, taking care of the kids. When you move to another country, you lose all that. And so you have to somehow replace it. And unless you're maybe like me, who can make friends in 5 minutes, you're going to be in real trouble. And if you fall on hard times, there'll be nothing to catch you other than, as you so put it, the taxpayer and the other people around you who wind up paying for you by default. That said, the specific non-enforcement of US code on illegal immigrants, I find, is also another big problem. How I think it's been reported that many police, even if they catch an illegal immigrant, with drugs or driving offences or simply being an illegal immigrant, the general shorthand is just let him go.
Well, a lot of times that happens because they know that these people don't have the financial wherewithal, and that's another thing that happens. These illegals come up here; they're looking for the better life, and they're told a pack of lies. They think they're going to come up here and make the big bucks, but they'll get a job in a meat processing plant, working 16 hours a day for less than minimum wage, and then they're charged room and board by the guy who hires them, and it's they're really abused. They really have the lowest amount of human rights that you can give them and
Hold on,
keep them
hold on, hold
working.
on, hold on. You said that you hire them, you pay them, and then you make them pay to keep you alive, kind of thing. That sounds exactly like the process of human sex trafficking.
Well, it's very similar to that. And you look at these big companies, the big meat packing plants. I'm not going to name names. I don't want to get sued, but there anybody who goes to your grocery store and buys bacon, look at the label of it. And you know that they're hiring illegal labor in there, and that these people are charged room and board to have a place to live when they're not at work. And they work them. The OSHA standards are non-existent. The health standards are non-existent, and it's really a life of exploitation for these people. But you know what? It's better than what they came from, so they're glad to do it.
Mm.
And so my premise is that how do we inspire the Mexican people to go back, to leave the USA and go back and reform their country in a way that makes it so people want to live there, so that they'd be proud to live there, they can make a living, support their family. Like you said, they're taking big risks coming up here, and they seem all too happy to do it.
Well, the other thing about it is, as you talked about the meat works and what have you, enormous amounts of accidents happening in these facilities, and no compensation for the worker. They just go, you're an illegal immigrant, we got there, and this is the thing: you have no power to defend yourself and no access to justice if you're an illegal immigrant. That's why I'm against illegal immigration of any kind, because that person becomes wide open to somebody standing over them and exploiting them. That is too dangerous. And of course, you're giving inordinate amount of power to those employers who may or may not be ethical, moral, or open and transparent. And indeed, there's been many reports of sexual exploitations of female migrants by higher ranking workers in meat manufacturing plants and what have, and propositioning them for sex in the promise that they'll be able to keep their job, and if they turn them down, equals immigration on them and threatens them if they don't.
Well, that's the nature of what's going on, and that's why this practice has to stop. And you really, I can't solve Mexico's problems. I'm working on solving the problems of the U.S. by coming up with good ideas and trying to circulate these ideas via, this forum on the radio, and trying to get people to wake up and realize that there's things that they can do, and how to do them. But I can't solve Mexico's problems. That's beyond my scope right now. But I would certainly like to see the people of Mexico go back home and solve their own problems, because I look at the U.S. This is my country. I mean, my family. We are not a nation of immigrants. Let me correct the misconception there. I am at least I can document that my family's been in this country for at least 8 generations. I possess the records. I possess the handwritten records of my family Bible that go back to Missouri when they first settled there, back to 1808, right after the Louisiana Purchase. And if I believe what Ancestry.com tells me, my family's lived in here, this country, maybe 12 or 13 generations. So I'm not an immigrant. I'm Native American, born and bred, and I have no other country. I've known no other country. I mean, there's nothing else for me. This is it for me. And I've got to defend this territory. I've got to protect this. And, I look at what's best for my country, what's best for my people. And that's what I have to concern myself with.
Well, I think it's the whole idea of being insular and not globalization. I think that is what we need to do in order to reverse this. Don't you think? Because if you're going out trying to solve everybody else's problems that you're not familiar with, you wind up causing more harm than good. Rather, you just take a sit back and focus on what is going on here. Because if you can't support or protect yourself, how are you going to support or protect somebody else? You listen to the Vinny Eastwood Show. We'll be right back after the break with Mike Harris.
No matter where you live, globalism affects you. Did you know that the Vinny Eastwood Show has more subscribers than New Zealand Herald TV and is New Zealand's most popular YouTube news channel, where warm-hearted humour and a list of awesome guests talk about crucial issues which the mainstream media ignore? A show where you, the listener, can phone up with questions, comments and suggestions of guests. Vinny is building a hub to connect truthers with raw information they need to become active. He can help you gain further skills such as website building, producing audio and video, and creating revenue streams in your own multimedia environment. Because Vinny supports such a wide range of people in the truth movement, he is not government or corporate backed and relies entirely on your donations. Give now, give generously, or subscribe for $10 a month for access to ad-free video archives. Just visit thevinnieeastwoodshow.com and click donate.
If you take an active interest in maintaining the optimum health and well-being of yourself and your family, the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine is the magazine you've been waiting for. Having taken Australia and New Zealand by storm, the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine is now available in the UK and Europe. Visit www.nznaturalmed.co.uk or call 01626 337 531 to order your copy now.
Do you realise every day we are being put under constant stress from wireless radiation? What's worse is that you don't even know that it's happening. It puts as much stress on our body as if we had a constant viral infection, draining our energy and sapping our strength, or just making us irritable and fatigued. These wireless fields are being emitted from computers, microwaves, mobile phones, power lines, and any electrical appliance. Now there is a solution. A group of research engineers in New Zealand have come up with an active shielding device that shields you from wireless radiation at a cellular level. Blue Shield comes in 3 models: a household, portable, and USB that plugs into any computer. The great thing about Blue Shield is it is very affordable and guaranteed to last. A one-off purchase will see you being protected for years to come. Visit AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click on the Blue Shield banner. Blue Shield, brought to you by the VinnyEastwoodShow.com.